there, Sue Wilson back again today, and I'm going to show you how to make your sentiments on your card nice and shiny. So these are the products we'll be using in today's video. I have the Thanks for Everything from the Expressions range. The Kefalonia die, we'll be using the center out of that to back our sentiment with. The Perfect Peonies. The Ornate Pierced Rectangles, as well as the classic Adorned rectangles. And we'll do some embossing with the Bed of Roses. This is one of my favorites, I think you've noticed. Pop these over to the side. I'm going to go ahead and do some embossing first. We're going to do our background. I've just got a piece of coconut white card here. Pop that into our Bed of Roses embossing folder and bring over our sandwich. Run that through our grand caliper. Okay. Now this folder is really nice. You can use either side of it. It looks absolutely beautifully. I think for this card today, I'm going to use this side. Just move a bit. And using one of the Adorned Pigment inks, this is the Cool Peri, I'm going to go direct to the paper with this and just rub it all over this embossing folder. And it will pick up your raised areas and just give it a really nice, light, purpley look to it. So pretty though. Oop. There we go. Get into those corners. That's looking really nice. Okay, I'll show you how pretty that comes out. Isn't that gorgeous? It just picks up the tops of those flowers and gives it ever so nice of an appearance to it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that into place on my background. Got some mounting foam here. We'll just peel that off. There we go. Pop that down. And I've done some Cosmic Shimmer white PVA glue dots around the edge there, just to frame that. Okay, so we'll come back to that in a minute. Tidy up. Now the next thing I've done, I've gone ahead and put it into place and just taped it. I'm using the combination of the Ornate Pierced Rectangles and the classic Adorned rectangles here. And I want to do some more inking right here. I'm going to come back in with my Cool Peri and just ink it with a smoothie. And this is a really very, very pale color, so you're going to want to really get some color into that. And I've just used those dyes as sort of a mask, and I will get a really pretty white edge from that. There we go. Gives you a nice smooth look with these smoothies. They really do apply the ink beautifully. Okay, now as I said earlier, this is a pigment ink, so it stays wet a bit longer. Let me just get a nice coverage here. There we go. And we're going to do some clear embossing over that. So I'm going to bring in my copy paper and take this apart. And I've also even stuck it onto a magnetic sheet because that really does help hold it into place. There we go. And this center one. Pop that over there. Let me get this last little bit of tape off. We don't want to melt that when we emboss. There we go. So you can see it's got a really pretty look to it now. And I'm going to bring in my clear embossing powder. Sprinkle it over that. Okay. And have a little bit of residue from my tape here. I'm just going to knock that off. There we go. And emboss. That looks good. Now, if you actually heat from underneath, you'll have a little bit of a smoother look, but it does take longer, but it's your call. That looks really pretty like that. I do have one I've done earlier, so I'll come back to that, but I do want to show you how to cut the frame that I've added on to that. So I'm just going to bring back my cutting plates. And I'm using the two outer dies from the Ornate pierced rectangles. And I'm going to pop them into place with a little bit of tape. Hold that one. And then put this one inside of it. Get it nice and centered. Little edge all the way around. That looks good. Pop that one in there. Okay. If you notice, I'm still using my junior plates here too, because it will just barely fit through there nicely. Sure. Okay. Let me check. You might need top and bottom done with another pass through. Let's see how we've done. I think we've actually cut it. Yes, we have. There we go. So you've got a really nice extra frame, and that's exactly what I've added onto this one with a little bit of mounting foam. Just adds a little extra detail. Now I'm going to actually use this piece that's in the center to back this with, just so I don't see through this design. I want it to be nice and solid white behind it, so I'm going to peel off my mounting foam. There we go. Pop this one into place. Just covering that center area back there, all right? And I've gone ahead and cut a second one of these designs to raise it up, give it a little bit more detail. Kind of, even though it's the same exact design on top of it, you will be able to see kind of a three-dimensional look to it. Extra tiny little bit of mounting foam on the side edges to hold it up. There we go. Pop it just on top of the original. Let me just lean in a little bit here. There we go. So it just adds a little of that high-low effect to your card too. And we will pop this into place with a bit of Cosmic Shimmer glue. There we go. Center that right into our background so you'll see that all the way around the edges. And we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, let me tidy a little bit, is bring in our sentiment. Now, I've gone ahead and cut 3 of these, and I've glued them with some spray adhesive back to back, all right? And let me just find where I've put my, there it is, hiding underneath everything, back to my Cool Perry pigment ink. So I'm going to take and ink this up really nicely. Get that color on there. It's like I said, it's a very pale color, so you might even want to do this a couple of times. Let me just make sure I've got all those little bits down here. And I'm just pressing it directly into the pad. A little bit right there. That looks like it's covered fairly well there. Okay. Bring back my copy paper. And I'm just going to tidy up my fingers with my Grime Boss. There we go. Sprinkle this with some Cosmic Shimmer clear embossing powder. There we go. Pop that back on there, and we're going to heat this one. You want to just make sure you've got a hold of it so it doesn't fly away. Okay. Give that a second to cool, and I would always recommend doing this twice. You want to make sure it's not too hot to pick up, so just give it a few seconds. Give it another little press into your ink pad, and that'll get a little bit deeper of color for you too. There we go. Another layer of your embossing powder. that into the container. And we'll do one more heating. Give that a second to cool down. Now this technique was one that was taught to me by my Creative Expressions teammate Julia Watts. It's one of the things she loves to do. And I have to say, thank you, Julia. It's a beautiful technique. I absolutely love the way it comes out. I'm just going to use a tiny bit of Cosmic Shimmer glue on the back of this. Get it all anchored. There we go. That should be enough to hold that into place nicely. I've hit all the strategic spots, I think. Pop that right, oh, wait a minute, apologize. One little thing we're going to do. We are going to go around the edge of this piece that I've cut with the Kefalonia die and seed it onto that. Just using that cool peri again. Now you could also emboss this with some clear powder if you wanted to. The pigment ink will dry on its own. It just takes a little bit longer. But I just like the way it gives a nice matching edge to that. There we go. Now we will seat that in the center here. And that's probably given that a little bit of time to set up, so perfect. Pop that right down into place. And just to add a little bit of embellishment to it, I've done a bow out of seam binding. This is just the blue-white seam binding. Pull those loops apart and find my trusty glue dots. Pop that into the corner down here. I'm going to add just a little bit of a baker's twine bow on top. I do love having kind of a mixed bow where you have something thin and something thicker. Gives a bit more texture on the cards. And using those peonies, I've just also inked them with little coconut white card. I've cut them out of and inked them with that cool peri to match. So everything will just tone in beautifully together. And I think I'll put one down there. And we will take a couple of the smaller ones and seat them up in the upper corner here. Gives it a nice balance. There we go. Oops. And you can take your pokey tool and raise those petals and give them a little bit more dimension once you have them into place too. There we go. Absolutely gorgeous, but look how that sentiment just shines on there, grabs your eye right into that focal element. I just love the way it looks.